It started with a squeak. The old cedar stairs groaned beneath my feet as I descended into the basement, chasing a half-hearted idea about finding the baby swing we packed away years ago. Our daughter, Emma, was expecting, and in some wistful rush of optimism, I thought maybe we could refurbish some of the things we used when she was born. Funny, the things you think about before your world ends. The basement was still and cold, the kind of cold that settles in concrete and never quite lets go. Dust motes swam in the light filtering through the narrow windows. I flicked on the overhead bulb, one of those humming yellow bulbs that makes everything look a little more haunted. Boxes. So many boxes. Labeled in my wife's handwriting, Christmas decor, Emma's school projects, books, old, baby stuff. And then one. No label. Just a plain, beat-up shoebox sitting under a wobbly shelf. Something about the way it sat there, forgotten but untouched, pulled at me. I bent down, brushed away a web, and opened it. Inside was a stack of notebooks. Soft cover, spiral-bound. The kind you get at a grocery store checkout lane. On the top one, written in fading blue ink, January, private, do not read. I hesitated. Not out of guilt, I've always respected her privacy. But this wasn't curiosity. It was something deeper. A nervous pull in my gut I couldn't explain. I opened it. The handwriting was hers. Rounded letters, sharp punctuation. I flipped past a few mundane entries, grocery lists, complaints about work, thoughts on colors for the nursery back when we were trying for Emma's little brother who never came. And then, this line, written without apology. I didn't plan to kiss Marcus today, but the way he looked at me in the copy room. I didn't stop it. I didn't want to. I froze. My first instinct was denial. Must be fiction. She used to write when she was younger. Maybe these were just stories. I flipped the page. He smelled like leather and mint gum, and I felt more alive in that 5 minutes than I have in weeks with Tom. My name. Tom. No more room for denial. The next entry was worse. We rented a room. Just once, I told myself. But I know I'll go back. I'm already thinking about what I'll wear. I sat down on the cold floor. I read for hours. Dozens of men. Dozens of moments. Different names. Some described in fragments, others in excruciating detail. Flirtations that escalated. Entire weekends she said were solo spa trips that were anything but. Even one entry where she writes, laughing through words on a page, how she lied about a miscarriage to cover a weekend away with someone named Evan. And it wasn't just the acts. It was the tone. No remorse. Just thrill. Secrecy. Power. Like she had 2 lives, and I'd only been a prop in one of them. The oldest entries dated back 18 years, right around the time we were first talking about starting a family. I ran my hand over my face. My wedding ring caught the light. The same ring she wore on those nights. The same ring she slid off, or didn't, while she was, with them. My knees felt weak. My stomach churned. Something inside me cracked, not shattered, not loud. Just a slow, deep fracture. The kind you don't feel fully until later. That's when I heard the garage door open upstairs. She was home. And I had her diary in my hands. I placed the diary back in the box, careful, almost reverent, like it was something sacred. Or radioactive. My hands shook as I folded the top closed, sealing years of betrayal inside cheap cardboard. Her footsteps moved lightly above me, heels clicking against hardwood. She always wore them, even at home, said they made her feel in control. The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't move. Just sat there in the half-dark of our basement, surrounded by old baby blankets, a dusty Christmas wreath, and the weight of 17 years of lies. The footsteps came closer. Then paused. Tom, her voice echoed down the stairs, warm, casual. You down there? I cleared my throat. Yeah. Pause. Then, did you find the swing? No. She didn't reply. Just the sound of her walking away, maybe to pour a glass of wine or change out of her office clothes into something softer. The routine of a woman with nothing to hide. I finally stood. My knees cracked under the weight of it all. I left the box where it was, no need to bring it up yet. Not until I figured out who I was when I walked back into that kitchen. The answer came slow. I wasn't ready to be angry. Not yet. I was still too numb. Instead, I climbed the stairs like a man returning from a battlefield, torn but quiet, each step measured, controlled. She was at the sink, washing her hands. A simple motion. Ring still on her finger. Like it meant something. Her hair was tied up. Her blouse was unbuttoned just enough to be casual. She smelled faintly of citrus and hand lotion. She smiled when she saw me, and for a moment, I saw her the way I used to. The woman I loved. The woman I gave my life to. Hey, she said softly. You look tired. I stared at her. At the corners of her mouth. The faint crow's feet she always hated. Her wrists, delicate, pale. Those hands had written every word in that journal. Had touched other men with the same hands that now reached for mine. I forced a smile. Yeah. Long day. She nodded sympathetically, drying her hands on a towel. I was thinking pasta tonight. Want me to open a bottle of that Shiraz you like? I almost laughed. The Shiraz. The one we shared on our anniversary. The one she toasted with after sleeping with someone else. Sure, I said. I let her pour the wine. Let her stir the sauce. Let her play the role. And I played mine, husband, helper, calm and unbothered. We talked about Emma's baby shower. About the neighbor's dog. About the forecast. We didn't talk about Marcus. Or Evan. Or any of the names etched in ink across those pages downstairs. After dinner, she curled up on the couch with a book, bare feet tucked under her. I watched her in silence, wondering how long I'd been watching a stranger without knowing. When she looked up, she caught me staring. What? I shook my head. Nothing. Just. I love you. She smiled, touched. I love you too, dummy. I went to bed before her. I couldn't stand to see her walk past me with that book in her hand, kiss me goodnight like nothing was broken. Like she hadn't broken everything. Lying in the dark, I stared at the ceiling. Listening. She climbed in next to me, her body warm against mine. She exhaled softly, content. Maybe she really believed the performance. Maybe she'd lived it so long, she thought it was real. But I knew better now. She drifted to sleep easily. And I stayed awake. Because morning was coming. And I wasn't going to pretend anymore. Morning came in pale streaks of light across the bedroom wall. Her back was to me. The same way it had been most mornings these past few years. She always got up first. Quietly. Soft-footed and composed. I used to think it was love, her letting me sleep a little longer. Now I wondered if it was guilt. By the time I got downstairs, she was already in the kitchen, dressed for work, pouring almond milk into her cereal like it was any other Tuesday. She glanced at me over her shoulder. Did you sleep okay? Yeah, I lied. You. She shrugged. You know me. Woke up at 3 again. I've been thinking I should try melatonin. I nodded absently. I didn't tell her that at 3, I was lying beside her wide awake, staring at the ceiling, repeating the names I'd read like a prayer. A curse. Evan. Marcus. Daniel. Tyler. How's the Harrison project going, she asked, spoon halfway to her mouth. I blinked. She remembered. My firm had been working on a residential complex, Harrison Lofts, downtown. It had taken over my schedule for months. She remembered. And yet, she forgot everything else. It's coming along, I said. Should finish the structural phase next week. That's good. We fell into silence. The kind that grows legs and wanders around the room until someone chases it off. She sipped her coffee. I watched her mouth. That mouth had told me, forever. Had whispered promises in the dark. And it had kissed other men. She noticed the way I was looking at her and gave a nervous laugh. What? Nothing, I said. You just look tired. Thanks, she said, smiling anyway. That's what every woman wants to hear at 8 a.m. She laughed. But I saw something in her eyes then. A flicker of something. Not guilt, not yet. But awareness. A crack in the porcelain. I'll be home late, she said, turning toward the door. We've got a pitch for the Bennett account and some follow-up after. I stood there for a beat too long. Then asked, casually, where's that happening? At your office or somewhere else? She looked up, startled, just for a second. My office, she said. Why? I shrugged. Just wondering if I should bring you dinner again. That was new. The offer. Her mouth opened, then closed. Oh. That's sweet, but I don't know when I'll be done. Maybe not tonight. I smiled. Another time then. She nodded and grabbed her purse, stepping into her heels. Love you, she said automatically, not even looking back. I waited until I heard the car pull out. Then I went back downstairs. Back to the box. Back to the truth. I pulled out another notebook. April. Red ink this time. A different year. Our son would have been 4. That was the spring we tried marriage counseling. I told Tom I wanted to work on us, and I meant it. But that didn't stop me from texting Logan after our session. He always knows how to make me feel like a woman again. Like I'm wanted. My throat closed. That was the week I started sleeping on the couch. I'd blamed it on stress. She said she understood. Said she missed me. That she wanted to fix things. She'd already replaced me. I sat there with that notebook open on my lap. My reflection wobbled in the tiny basement window. I didn't recognize the man looking back at me. He was paler now. Older. Still. His face was calm, but his hands were curled into fists. And upstairs, our life carried on, breakfast bowls in the sink, a half-sipped cup of coffee still warm on the table. The theater of a marriage. But I'd seen behind the curtain now. The audience was gone. And the show was almost over. That evening, I didn't wait for her to come home. I drove to her office. It wasn't rage driving me. It wasn't even revenge, not yet. It was something colder. Curiosity, maybe. A need to see her in the world she used to escape me. The world she'd built without me even knowing. Her car was in the parking lot. Lights on in the top corner office. I sat in my car with the engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel, and waited. At 8:17 p.m., she came out. Alone. A portfolio clutched to her chest, hair pinned back, a coat slung over her arm. I exhaled. It felt pathetic, how relieved I was to see no one walking beside her. Like it somehow cancelled out the years she'd spent wrapping herself around other men in secret. But it didn't. I followed her home. Parked 2 houses down and waited again. Watched her silhouette pass from window to window, moving through our kitchen like nothing had changed. Then I walked inside. The house smelled like garlic and basil. She was heating up leftovers. She turned when she saw me, smiled like we were still us. Hey. Want some? It's that lasagna from Sunday. I walked past her, set my keys on the counter, and opened the cabinet above the fridge. She froze when she saw what I was reaching for. The shoebox. Her face paled, but only slightly. She tried to recover. Tom, what are you? Did you ever plan to tell me? Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I took the box down, set it on the island between us, and opened it slowly. Pulled out the top diary. The January one. I flipped to a page and read aloud. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I can't believe how easy it is. How quickly I can become someone else in someone else's hands. Tom will never know. I'm too careful. And besides, he's too soft. Too trusting. Silence. Her mouth moved. No sound came. Then. That was a long time ago. I looked up. So it's true. A pause. Then a whisper, yes. I felt it then, the twist. The floor falling out from under me. The breath leaving my lungs. The yes wasn't apologetic. It wasn't panicked. It was just honest. She stepped forward. I was lost back then. You know that. We were barely talking. I felt invisible. You kissed Marcus. Slept with Evan. Lied about a miscarriage. Her face flushed. She bit her lip and turned her head slightly, like the words physically stung her. I dropped the journal on the counter. It made a soft, dull sound. Like something breaking gently. How many? I asked. She looked at me then. Really looked. Her voice was hollow. I don't know. God. I nodded slowly. Not even a number. Tom, I never meant to hurt you. Then why did you keep doing it? Silence. She reached out for me, fingertips trembling, but I stepped back. The space between us felt sacred now, like a line I could never cross again. I was angry, she said, almost pleading. Angry at how routine everything became. At how you stopped seeing me. You were always working, or distracted. I felt like I didn't matter. And instead of telling me, you built an entire life behind my back. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't cry. I told myself I'd stop. Every time. I'd swear it was the last. But it never was. You got good at lying, I said, quieter now. Really good. She nodded. Slowly. As if ashamed of her own skill. And then, with more softness than I expected, she asked, "Do you still love me?" I opened my mouth. But no words came. Because the truth was, I didn't know anymore. I turned away. Walked upstairs. She didn't follow. And that silence, the one that used to be peaceful, now screamed through every room in our house. The next morning, she wasn't in bed. Not beside me. Not in the kitchen. Not on the porch sipping her coffee like she usually did on days when she wanted to clear her head. I found her in the garage. She sat on the steps by the washer, knees drawn up, a half-empty mug of cold coffee beside her, hair still mussed from sleep. She looked like a child who'd broken something she couldn't fix. And for a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. I read more, I said. She didn't look up. The July entries. That was the summer I lost my job. The summer you told me we were in this together. While I was sending out resumes and fighting off panic attacks in our bathroom, you were sneaking out to meet someone named Aaron. She flinched. I sat across from her on a lawn chair. My voice was steady. Dead steady. I wasn't perfect. God knows, I was distant. I was struggling. But I never stopped trying. I never stopped loving you. Still, she didn't speak. Just stared at the floor like it might answer for her. Do you know what it's like, I said, to replay every memory and not know which version of you was real? Did you love me while you were with them? Or was it all an act? Finally, she whispered, I didn't stop loving you. I laughed, short, bitter. You had a strange way of showing it. She swallowed. I compartmentalized. That's how I survived. Survived what, exactly? I asked. A husband who worked too much. Who gave you a daughter? A mortgage? A life? Her eyes flicked up. It wasn't just you. It was me. I felt hollow. Like I was disappearing in the roles I was playing, wife, mother, employee. Every man I met gave me back a piece of something I thought I'd lost. I stared at her. So you filled yourself up by breaking me? No, she said, fiercely now. That was never the goal. But it was the result. She looked away. I let the silence stretch. The kind that makes your throat tighten. The kind that leaves no room for pretending. Then I said, I want to ask you something. And I want the truth. All of it. She nodded slowly, eyes rimmed red. Were there any of them, that you loved? She hesitated. Too long. I don't know, she whispered. Try, I said. Tears slipped down her cheeks, silent and slow. Maybe one. That was it. That was the moment. The sound of that word, one, echoed through me like a gunshot. I stood up. Walked to the door. She called after me. Tom, please. What are we going to do? I paused with my hand on the doorknob. The sunlight outside was bright, blinding almost. But I didn't step into it yet. I don't know, I said. But whatever happens next, starts without lies. And I left her there. Alone in the dark. Just like I'd been for years without even knowing it. I didn't go far. Just far enough. 2 nights at a motel off Highway 12. Beige walls, cheap soap, a remote with worn buttons. It was nothing like home, but maybe that was the point. I didn't want familiar. I didn't want comfort. I wanted distance. From her. From myself. The first morning, I woke up and didn't know what day it was. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall for half an hour. Not thinking. Just, not. A blank screen. After 17 years of noise, the silence was jarring. But it wasn't empty. It was clean. I went for a walk that afternoon. Through a stretch of abandoned railroad tracks behind the motel. The gravel crunched beneath my shoes in a rhythm that felt oddly soothing. The sun was high and hot, but I welcomed it. Let it burn the fog off me. Let it remind me I was still here. Still standing. I didn't call her. She didn't call me. Instead, we existed in a kind of truce, both of us orbiting the absence between us. I imagined her sleeping alone in our bed, walking through our kitchen, folding laundry with no one to talk to. I wondered if she was crying. If she was relieved. If she felt free, or just exposed. On the 3rd night, I opened my laptop and began writing. Not a letter. Not a message to her. Just thoughts. What I felt. What I feared. What I missed. What I didn't. The truth is, I still loved her. But not like before. Not blindly. Not unconditionally. I loved her like a man who had walked through fire and could still smell the smoke. And beneath that love was something new. Something sharp and necessary. Self-respect. The realization came not as a declaration, but a whisper, I don't have to stay. That thought scared me. It also thrilled me. Because for so long, my identity had been tied to hers. Tom and Jenna. Emma's parents. The Morgans. But now, I could be, just Tom. I drove home on a Friday afternoon. The house looked the same. But I didn't. I felt taller. Or maybe just more grounded. She was in the living room when I walked in. Barefoot, wearing a sweatshirt she'd stolen from me years ago. Her eyes were puffy. Her hair tied back. No makeup. She looked real. Unarmored. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said quietly. "I came to talk," I replied. We sat across from each other on the couch like strangers trying to remember a shared language. She spoke first. "I've been seeing a therapist," she said. "I started the day you left. Her name's Carly. She doesn't let me get away with anything." I nodded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. "I don't deserve it. I just want to understand myself. And if there's even a thread of us left, I want to protect it." I listened. Not just to her words, but to how they landed. For once, they weren't meant to manipulate or soothe. She wasn't performing. She was just trying. Slowly. Clumsily. I looked at her hands. The ring was gone. Mine, too. We weren't husband and wife anymore. Not in the way we once were. But maybe that wasn't the end. Maybe that was the beginning of something more honest. "I'm not moving back in," I said. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. I need time." She nodded, biting her lip to hold an emotion. "Okay. But I'll come by," I added. "I want to see Emma. Help plan the nursery. Be part of life." Her eyes welled, and she reached for a tissue. Of course. The silence that followed wasn't heavy this time. It was open. Like a door left ajar. I left that night with a suitcase in my hand and a strange feeling in my chest. Not hope. Not exactly. But maybe the first breath before it. A month later, I stood in a hardware store aisle, staring at paint samples. It wasn't about the color. It was about the choice. I'd signed a lease on a small cottage across town. 2 bedrooms. Wooden floors. A screened-in porch. When I first walked through it, I imagined how quiet it would be at night, and I didn't feel dread. I felt possibility. I picked a shade called smoked pine. Deep, earthy green. Calming. Confident. Nothing like the soft beige walls of the house Jenna and I had shared. I wanted something that reminded me of growth. Of forest after fire. That's what betrayal does. If you survive it, it strips you down. Scorches the surface. Leaves you exposed, raw. But underneath, something stubborn starts to grow. Roots, pushing down. Shoots, reaching up. You learn things you didn't want to learn. That you were asleep. That love, when blind, is dangerous. That silence is not always peace. That forgiveness is not owed, and trust, once broken, doesn't mend with apology alone. I learned I had value. Even stripped of her validation. Even alone. I met with Jenna once a week. Neutral places, coffee shops, bookstores, the occasional walk around the lake with Emma when she joined us. We spoke like 2 people who used to live in the same country but now needed a translator. Careful, slow, deliberate. She never asked me to come home. I think she understood now what she never did before, that what she broke wasn't just trust. It was identity. It was me. But she also didn't run away from the wreckage. She stayed in it. Faced it. Owned it. And that, I'll admit, took courage. One night, Emma asked me if I still loved her mom. I paused too long. She noticed. "It's okay if you don't," she said. "I think she's scared you won't." "I do," I said quietly. But love isn't the same thing as safety. And it's not the same thing as staying. She nodded like she understood more than a daughter should have to. The next morning, she sent me a photo, her ultrasound. The baby was the size of a lemon, she wrote. And just like that, life moved forward. Not because the past didn't matter, but because the present mattered more. I don't know if Jenna and I will ever be married again. I don't know if what was shattered can be rebuilt. But I do know this. I'm not the man I was when I found that box in the basement. Back then, I thought love meant never giving up. Now I know, it means choosing yourself, even when it hurts. It means leaving, not out of spite, but out of survival. It means healing not to be with them again, but to be with yourself fully for the first time. So if you ask me what the moral is, what I've learned, I'd say this. Love is sacred, but so is your dignity. And when someone forces you to choose between the two, you pick yourself. Every time.